Good morning, Warzone kids. It's a beautiful day on the trail to the Western Lands here in Vermont. It's 30 degrees where I am, and just barely got down below freezing last night at my house. The snow and ice is melting fast. I can't see any grass in my yard yet, but I know it's down there and I'll see it soon enough. Warzone kids is my term for those of us like myself who had a childhood that was more like a low-grade guerrilla war against your psyche and less like what you might think of like a supportive nursery where you can grow hothouse orchids. I'm a child sex abuse survivor, and as an adult I live with borderline personality disorder. I'm a recovering addict and bulimic, and I got other stuff like that I live with. And I think of my soul, my psyche, who I am. That's all I mean by those terms, whatever you want to call it. I think of that like a Jenga tower. And if you know that game, at the beginning of the game, it starts out with a block of wood that's made up of smaller blocks. And there's a word for that in Greek. You would call that a cosmos. It's a whole made out of parts, just like you and me are. And every turn in the game Jenga, you slide out one of the small blocks and you set it on top of the tower. And every time you do that, the center of gravity in that tower shifts a little bit, gets a little bit taller, gets a little bit more rickety, and the game ends when the tower falls down. And I think of that, what I think of when I think about that is, as a Warzone kid, living with chronic harm, abuse, and neglect in childhood, every bit of chronic harm, neglect, and abuse slides out a little piece out of your Jenga tower from where it belongs and puts it up on top. That might be sexual harm. You might be a child sex abuse survivor like this guy. Might have been emotional harm like this guy, or psychological harm and abuse like this guy. Might have been a lot of physical abuse, societal abuse, racial abuse, gender-related abuse. You might be the wrong kind of person according to the people you grew up around. Well, we're all Warzone kids here on the trail to the Western Land. And our task as Warzone kids is to live with that psyche. And to go beyond that, to live our life as it is right now, means putting that Jenga tower back into a solid shape. Because the game of Jenga ends when the tower falls down. And what you can find as a Warzone kid is that as an adult, you can spend your whole life just trying to keep that leaning, tottering tower of Jenga from falling down. Well, when it does fall down, that ain't the end of the game. That's just the beginning. That's the beginning of the next game, which is rebuilding your Jenga tower. I call that setting out on the trail to the Western Lands. The Western Lands is a place of peace and wholeness where we learn and become what we are. And I think of myself as a pilgrim on that trail. And the thing about a pilgrimage is, yeah, you're going someplace, the land of peace and wholeness, but the journey is an act of devotion itself. The journey is how you arrive at that destination, and the destination is the journey itself. Because every day, all I have is the here and now. The present moment is all I have. That's all you ever have in your life. The past is gone and the future ain't here yet. You can drag the past around with you like a block of wood, trying to carve it into the shape of a key that will unlock the secret to your Jenga tower. You can live life in the future, waiting for that time when you'll be happy just around the next bend in the road. Well, the past is gone and the future never gets here. Today is the only day you got, and right now is the only part of today there is. And right now, my entire life consists of talking to you. And right now, your entire life, everything you are, consists of nothing more than just listening to me right now. I'm thinking about how we should feel. And if you're watching this, you can probably see the sneer on my face. How should we feel? Well, I'm a volunteer circle keeper with Hidden Water. That's an organization that facilitates healing circles by and for those affected by child sex abuse. I'm a circle keeper in a green circle. That's what we call circles for child sex abuse survivors like myself. There are circles for those, for partners and loved ones of child sex abuse survivors. There are circles for the non-offending parents of child sex abuse survivors. And there are circles for people that have caused harm to children and are ready to make amends and take responsibility for it. And so it's a great organization, and I'll put a link to it in the description. If you or anyone you know might benefit for it, get yourself on the waiting list. There'll be a new 12-week session starting up probably in September. But I bring that up because at the beginning of the session in Hidden Water, at the beginning of the season, we're in week 3 this week of our 12-week season. At the beginning of the season, we have got a welcome that we read, put everyone on the same page. And the welcome says, at Hidden Water, we honor the fact that different people have different attitudes and are in different places with regard to how they relate with the rest of their family. Now, there's a lot of talk in society at the present moment about child sex abuse. Most of the talk I hear about it occurs in a very narrow band, and it ain't really about child sex abuse survivors. Most of what I hear these days is about vengeance and judgment on child sex abusers, and specifically on the kind of image of like the pedophile. There's any amount of talk about that. The white, basically think of it as like the white van pedophile, people that traffic in children and all that. And I've certainly know people for whom that's their experience, and that's a real experience. And if that's your experience, peace to you, and I invite you to sign up for a green circle, Hidden Water Circle. But it is just a fact of the world that by numbers, the overwhelming majority of child sex abuse survivors, the overwhelming majority by numbers, were caused harm by someone known to them. They weren't yanked off the street by Jeffrey Epstein or thrown in the back of a white van. And I'm not making light of that situation if that's your experience. I am not. And I think you can probably tell that. Overwhelmingly, by the numbers, there are more people that are caused harm by people that they know. And in that group, there's a giant fraction of us caused harm by a family member. And there's a fraction of those people caused harm by an immediate family member. And there's a fraction of those people caused harm by a parent. Now, for those of us whose experience was that we were caused harm by an immediate family member, that's what that part of the Hidden Water Welcome is about. We honor the fact that people have different relationships with their family. And so that's what's on my mind today, because if you're a war zone kid and you were caused harm by a family member, by an immediate family member, specifically, that's my experience, that's what's in my mind. But if you can relate to this, if you're caused harm by a family member, there's probably a number of other things that are true. You may well have in your mind an awareness that other people in the family knew something about it. Or they could have known, or they should have known, or they made it their full-time business making sure they didn't know what the reality was. Well, I honor that, and I give you permission to take a minute and honor that in yourself. And we have, just human beings, it's just a fact. I would put it in terms of evolution, but it doesn't matter. God made you this way. The alien put human seed on the planet and we popped out from under a rock this way, whatever you want to call it, however we got here, we're here. And you can probably relate to the fact, if you're a war zone kid like I am, your feelings, my feelings about my family are extremely complicated. In fact, I will tell you that it basically boils down to my feelings about my folks. Put it that way, I'm not talking about my kids. My feelings about my folks are mostly, you could just say they're static. Static. Because mixed in there is anger and pain and resentment and rage and the desire for vengeance and seething hatred. Those are all part of the static. White noise, black noise. And also mixed in there is love and affection and loyalty and the bond that you feel as you get. I'm 51. I'm a 51-year-old Gen Xer. I was raised in Oklahoma. The bond that you feel when you get to be toward my part of life, you feel a certain kind of bond with anyone from your same time and place. It's a different world. At Oklahoma in the 70s and 80s and 90s was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I was raised in the shadow of the Dust Bowl. My family were Dust Bowl survivors. We were not Okies who left Oklahoma to go to California where the weather's nice, you can grow stuff. We were Oklahomans. The Dust Bowl came, the Black Blizzard, that's what they called them. The Black Blizzard came and my family stayed there. And my family is ornery. They stayed through that famine and through the pestilence and blight. They stayed there. And we are an ornery people. We are survivors and all that. And damaged. The damage caused to me was caused by people who themselves grew up in a world of damage. They were war zone kids. And see, you can hear my voice. It's all I can do to keep my mind focused on my own experience. I will spend hours justifying my folks to you. Because I spent my entire childhood listening to them justify themselves to me and tell me stories about what victims they were. And as a child, I did not want my parents to suffer, so I put my own needs to the side and I paid attention to them, right? This is inherent, I think, in the nature of being a child. So I have love and affection and loyalty and resentment and seething rage and hatred and anger for my folks and for my extended family. And you might be able to relate to that. And my folks are frail now. They're in the dying part of life, basically. More or less actively. And I practice Zen. I sit on a cushion, I look at the wall, and thoughts come in my mind, thoughts go out of my mind. I don't try to summon them up or edit them or comment on them, they just let them come. And as my folks are nearing sundown, I reflect and I let myself feel what my actual feelings are, and they are static. That's my report. That's my weather report for my psyche today. And I can tell you that I give myself permission for it to just be okay. That's what my feelings are. They are static. It's all mixed in together. That's okay. I give myself permission to have whatever feelings I have. And I do not engage in thoughts about what I should feel for my parents. And I think that I appreciate the Hidden Water recognition of that fact. We're all in different places. We war zone kids are all in different places. We all have to make our own relationship with our feelings about our family and our place in it. Whatever that is for you is okay. according to me. I'm no arbiter of this. I got no special platform except that I'm your fellow human creature, and I'm a war zone kid. I'm a child sex abuse survivor. My mother, I would say, was plagued with borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder. I'm well acquainted with both those things. My old man was a hot off the chopper combat machine gunner from Vietnam. Lived utterly beset with guilt and his own experience of childhood of abuse and neglect. And see, here I go again, telling you their story. See? And then I get angry about that. And I get resentful about how much of the real estate in my own mind they colonized when I was a child. And how actively I have to work in the present moment, right here and now, to stay with my own experience. See? Static. But that is what it is. Since it is that way, I do not waste time telling myself it should be some other way. There is no way that I should feel about my folks. There ain't. Or rather, I'll put it this way. In our society, there's a near infinite array of people that will tell you how you should feel. Not this guy. And no one at Hidden Water is going to tell you how you should feel if you're a child sex abuse survivor. We honor the fact that it is a task of a grown-up. It is a task of grown-up difficulty to understand how you relate with the rest of your family. And however that is okay. You might have cut your family off decades ago. That's okay. You have the right to do that. You might still be absorbed in your immediate family situation. You might live with them. That's okay. Whatever it is, however it is that you've found, I honor that fact. It is not easy. And if you're a war zone kid, you can just know that this war zone kid knows it is not easy. There ain't no right answer to it. There's not. In my experience. I can't begin to tell you how many years and probably decades I've spent trying to unravel, it's a Gordian knot. There's a Greek myth about a trial, probably a Heracles, or someone else, I don't know, maybe it was Jason, whoever it was. Someone was set the task of solving a Gordian knot. This is a big old complicated knot, big old ball. And people come along, tried to untie it, and they always failed. Well, our hero here, and since I can't remember who the actual myth is about, I'm going to say it's about you and me. The hero of the story gives up trying to untie the Gordian knot and just takes out their sword and cuts it. That's been my experience of what it's like dealing with the static in my head and how to relate to my folks, looking for the right way to do it, listening to society tell me how I should do it. It's a Gordian knot, Pilgrim. You just reach down, pull your sword out of its scabbard, and cut that knot. And I give you permission to do that. And I honor the fact that however you cut that knot is how you cut that knot. And it's okay. I honor whether you're in a relationship with your folks, whether you're not, whether you just deal with them how they are because you can't change them. That's kind of where I'm at. Or whether you bang your head against the wall, which I've also done, trying to change them because you care about them. I've spent a lot of time in my life trying to get my folks to change because I can see their damage, and I can see their suffering. They're lost in a sea of suffering to my eyes, and I can see that. And I have a vision of the people they could be. If only they would set out on the trail to the Western Lands. Well, that's just them claiming more real estate in my head and crowding out my ability to live my own life, really. Because you can't change anyone else. They got to do it themselves. So I honor how you deal. Whatever your feelings are, if you relate to me saying it's like static, and it's a mix of pain, rage, hate, anger, love, affection, loyalty, resentment, the desire for vengeance, all that just boils down to static. If you can relate to that and don't cast judgment on me for it, I appreciate that. And I do the same favor for you. However you've cut that Gordian knot. Whatever your Gordian, I'll put it a different way. Whatever your Gordian knot is like of your relationship with your family, as far as I'm concerned, you can cut that knot. And however, whatever your relationship with your family is like, it's okay. It's okay. That's your Gordian knot to cut. No one can cut it for you. And however you cut it, that's how you cut it. That's what this pilgrim thinks about it. And you and I have something in common if you're a war zone kid. Maybe you can see something to identify with in me. I know that there's something in you can identify with. I can see myself in you. And I honor you and the Gordian knot that you have in front of you. And however you deal with it, that's okay. Because today, rosy-fingered dawn is coming up over the mountains. The sky is blue. There's some gray and silver clouds. The moon is half full and the moon is half empty. It's a beautiful day on the trail to the Western Lands, pilgrim. If you like this, send it to someone you know. Head over to the YouTube channel at Trail to the Western Lands. Subscribe. Send this to someone on TikTok. Leave a comment. I love to hear from you. I really do. Peace on your journey today on the trail to the Western Lands, pilgrim. I send you peace. And I say vaya con Dios. Assalamu alaikum. Daylight's burning, pilgrim. Let's get a move on.